Kakuda, horror, legit. Soham, a 30-year-old, had an ancestral home in a small village called Rataudi near the city of Mathura in Uttar Pradesh. However, since childhood, Soham's father had kept him away from Rataudi village. He did not want Soham to ever set foot in that ominous place. But Soham wanted to see his large ancestral home in Rataudi at least once in his life. Once, when he was on a business trip to Uttar Pradesh, he thought, why not take a detour to Rataudi as well? There was no trace of Rataudi on Google Maps, but Soham managed to reach Rataudi by asking for directions from the locals. It was only 7 in the evening, but the entire village was deserted. Soham noticed that every house had not one, but 2 doors, a large door and a small door, and the small door of every house was open. One of Soham's uncles lived in their ancestral home in that village. He went straight to his uncle's house. The large door of the house was closed, and when no one came out, even after knocking, Soham entered through the small door and closed it from the inside. Once inside, he met his uncle, and everyone was very happy to see him. They sat inside a room and started talking. Suddenly, the sound of bells ringing loudly began to echo throughout the village of Rataudi. Soham asked his uncle why the bells were ringing at this time and why Rataudi seemed so deserted. His uncle explained that Rataudi village was cursed by a ghost named Kakuda. Every Tuesday, exactly at 7:15 p.m., a ghost named Kakuda comes, and the small door of the house must always be kept open for him. If the door is not open, any man inside gets cursed by Kakuda, becomes hunchbacked, and his countdown begins, leading to his death on the 13th day. Upon hearing this, Soham remembered that he had closed the small door when he came in. He quickly ran outside. The Rataudi clock tower rang loudly, indicating it was 7:15 p.m. Suddenly, a strong wind began to blow, and the sound of buzzing mosquitoes filled the air. From these sounds, Soham's uncle realized that the ghost had started roaming the village. To hide his mistake, Soham quickly moved forward to open the small door. But by then, it was too late. A growling sound started coming from outside the door. Suddenly, someone began knocking on the door very loudly. From the knocking on the door, his uncle understood. The trash has arrived. Before Soham's uncle could do anything, the small door was looted. What Soham saw made him scream, because on the other side of the door, instead of a person, he saw 2 rotten, little, blue feet surrounded by mosquitoes flying in the air. Soham was trembling badly, seeing his god in front of him. Then the god, with 2 red terrifying eyes, disheveled hair, and a rotten little blue body, growled and flew rapidly towards Soham, kicking him so hard that he fainted right there. When Soham opened his eyes, all the villagers were standing around him. Soham was experiencing a lot of pain in his back. When he reached back to check, Soham realized that a large boil or hump had formed on his back. When Soham asked everyone about last night, his uncle explained that since this house actually belonged to Soham's father, who had moved to Delhi, technically Soham was the man of the house. Now he had been cursed by the Kakuda, and due to this curse, it was certain that he would die in 13 days. After this incident, none of the residents of Rataudi were willing to help him. Then, in a state of tears, Soham called his best friend Tanuj. Tanuj listened to everything Soham had to say and arrived in Rataudi village with a tantric 2 days later. When he went there and saw Soham's condition, his hair stood on end. Soham's entire body was covered in boils. The boil on his back had grown even more, and he kept muttering that Kakuda would kill him. Soham's uncle told the tantric that Kakuda resides in the village fields near a scarecrow. The tantric immediately began his rituals in the field and assured them that he would subdue Kakuda within 2 days. He continued his prayers day and night, but Soham's boils kept increasing. On the second night, when the tantric approached Soham, in this field, when they called near the worship place, everyone outside started hearing the strong wind blowing and the sound of mosquitoes again. And suddenly, in the middle of the field, that wooden scarecrow began to move. Before anyone could do anything, the scarecrow strangled the tantric with its hands and killed him right there in an instant. Seeing all this, Tanuj and Soham quickly ran away from there. Tanuj was very scared, and without any delay, he put Soham in the car and left from there. He thought he would take Soham out of Ratori village. They started heading towards Delhi in the car. They were just about to leave Ratori village when suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and their car broke down. Suddenly, their car was surrounded by buzzing mosquitoes, and they began to hear the sound of someone approaching. Ambo saw that a crow was flying in front of their car. Tanuj opened the door and started running away from the crow, but the crow stuck to him like a shadow. Within moments, Soham saw that Tanuj was flying in the air, and the crow was behind him. In the blink of an eye, Tanuj's neck snapped, and he fell down and died. And the crow disappeared from there. The crow was now very angry. For the next 7 days, it would take Soham from his house and throw his clothes and body forcefully at the doors of different houses in Ratori. The residents of Ratori wanted to help Soham, but everyone was witnessing the terror of the crow. So despite wanting to, no one could do anything. And then 13 days passed. The entire Ratori knew that according to the prophecy, today the crow was going to kill Soham. That day, the village was quieter than on other Tuesdays. As soon as it struck 7 in the morning, the clock tower of Ratori chimed again. A strong wind and a swarm of mosquitoes emerged from outside every door in the village, along with the crow. Shortly after, the villagers heard Soham's soul-chilling scream. Soham had now left this world, and due to the crow's prophecy, another person from Ratori had lost their life.